Around 2:30 on the afternoon of August 16, 1977, actress Ginger Alden was wandering around Graceland in search of none other than her world-famous fiancé, Elvis Presley. The king of rock and roll was supposed to be preparing to leave for his latest tour, but Ginger was growing increasingly concerned, as she hadn't seen him in a substantial amount of time. After an unsuccessful search and seeing no sign of Elvis, Ginger discovered that his bathroom door was cracked open. She looked inside the room and, as she later recalled in her memoir, stood paralyzed as I took in the scene. This was the exact moment that the music and showbiz world would change forever. It was a seismic event and a national tragedy. Read more related articles. Perhaps the most insistent consequence of Presley's death has been the growing debate over how he died. On one side is the medical examiner of Memphis, arguing that the cause was a heart attack, or in his words a hypertensive cardiovascular disease associated with atherosclerotic heart disease. On the other side is an army fans and friends alike who attribute his death to dependence on a lethal combination of powerful prescription drugs. But perhaps the most baffling conspiracy lies in the theory that Elvis Presley died due to a rather severe case of constipation. It was a condition that longtime pal and physician Dr. George Nichopoulos left the king having toilet accidents on stage as he sought treatment. The doctor remained by Elvis' side during his drug addiction and were there on the tragic day of his death, and claims in an autopsy, stunned medics found a 4-month-old stool blocking his gut. Opening up about the tragic loss of his pal, the medical professional released a tell-all book, The King and Dr. Nick about his time with Elvis. In this memoir lay his theory on the death that shocked America. Read more related articles. We didn't realize until the autopsy that his constipation was as bad. We knew it was bad because it was hard for us to treat, but we didn't realize what it had done, Dr. Nick explains of Elvis' condition. According to Dr. Nick, the autopsy revealed that Presley's colon was 5 to 6 inches in diameter. The normal width is 2 to 3 inches, and instead of being the standard 4 to 5 feet long, Elvis' colon was 8 to 9 feet in length. Opening up about the injured ego of the pop sensation, Dr. Nick explained that Elvis postponed treatment, and was utterly embarrassed about his life-altering condition. The constipation upset him quite a bit because Elvis thought that he could handle almost anything. He thought he was really a man's man and he wasn't going to let something like this stop him. At the time, Dr. Nick was constantly urging the singer to go ahead with a colostomy, and was in steady talks with a surgeon at the University of Memphis to perform the procedure. However, Presley's ego and embarrassment ultimately got in the way of saving his overall health as he continued to hide his unusual health problems. His friends cited, he would get embarrassed, he'd have accidents on stage. He'd have to change clothes and come back because of the way we were trying to treat his constipation. So if they had done the colostomy then, he'd probably still be here. Read more related articles in his memoir. Nichopoulos also shares his beliefs on Presley's prominent weight gain. According to the doc, Elvis' death was not a result of overeating or eating the wrong foods, as they initially assumed. The doctor reveals that Elvis' bloated appearance was due to his severe constipation. He said, "During the last few years we were going back and comparing pictures, some of them were taken just 2 weeks apart, but he looked like he'd gained 20 pounds when the only difference was that he had a good healthy bowel movement and then lost a lot of weight from that." Usually you pass it all in 2 or 3 days, but at the autopsy we found stool in his colon which had been there for 4 or 5 months because of the poor motility of the bowel. Elvis was only a young man when he died, but resembled an old, bloated, fading version of the once beautiful man whose rhythmic hip swaying earned him the nickname Elvis the Pelvis. He actually died a death that is quite common, albeit an embarrassing one. Read more related articles. The all shook up singer was sitting on the toilet, straining very hard to have a bowel movement, a maneuver that put a great amount of pressure on his heart and aorta. Thus, leading health professionals to believe that he likely died of a massive heart attack and keeled over onto the floor. But Elvis' medicine chest was filled with amber-colored, white-topped vials of medications, in doses no responsible doctor would have prescribed. Presley was a long-time abuser of opiates, which not only kill pain but also cause savage constipation. He abused antihistamines, tranquilizers such as Valium, barbiturates, quaaludes, sleeping pills, hormones, and laxatives, for the constipation. In the 7 months leading up to his death, Elvis was prescribed almost 9,000 pills, vials and injections. His supply of drugs included uppers, downers and painkillers so strong they were usually given to patients in the end stages of cancer. Few people knew how deeply the iconic idol had fallen into a psychedelic haze of pharmaceutical drugs, increasingly removed from the men, the friends, who had protected him since he was a teen. Despite the second post-mortem insisting drugs had played no part in Elvis' death, questions still remain as to what exactly killed the king of rock and roll. Before his tragic death, Elvis' health had virtually collapsed as he was bedbound and forced to rely on nursing care almost all the time. Internally, things were getting much worse for the king. His heart had swelled to almost twice its normal size, and his post-mortem revealed he was in advanced stages of cardiovascular disease. Despite never having smoked, his lungs were riddled with emphysema, which would have made it almost impossible for him to breathe. Although he appeared to be the most confident man on earth, details of Elvis' dire insecurities and declining self-worth emerged some years after his death, by friends and those closest to him. The King of Pop's fall from grace is regarded as one of the biggest downward spirals in music history, and die-hard fans are still heartbroken to this day.